Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If this is your first time stopping by and you want to feed that Tacoma addiction, go ahead and subscribe now. Today I'll be using a UV dye kit to see if my oil leak has stopped. Alright guys, here is my oil pan. Got it wiped down pretty good. Obviously not 100%, but I'm not going to be relying on just my eyes to see if it's going to continue leaking after switching from synthetic to conventional oil, which I did here could sometimes help small leaks like this. Again, this wasn't even dripping on the ground, so nothing major. But again, you want to stay ahead of any kind of oil leak, obviously. So today I'll be using a kit of UV dye, and I'll show you all the process, and I'm going to use that with a UV Blacklight, of course, to spot some leaks. And here's what I'll be using today. I will, of course, put links for all of this stuff down in the description below. Here is the actual UV fluorescent dye that is safe in oil, transmission, power steering, fuel system, you name it. Tons of different applications for hunting down leaks. And on the back, it just tells you how much to put in per volume. This is 1 fluid ounce, and reading the instructions for engine oil, it says you use 1 ounce for 5 quarts of oil, which works out almost perfectly because on my 4-liter V6 with the filter, full oil at the proper level is 5.5 quarts, so I'll just pour this whole thing in just a minute, show you the whole process. So that's the first item I'll be using. The second part, this all came as a kit. You get these UV glasses and a UV Blacklight flashlight. I think everything here, the glasses, the flashlight, and the UV dye, I want to say it was total like 20 bucks, so not too bad. I'm not even really sure. Some of the reviews said you don't even really need to wear the glasses to actually spot the leaks. So, I mean, it came with it, so it wasn't anything extra. And again, about 10 bucks for the flashlight and glasses, another 10 for the dye. Figured it was worth a shot to see if it actually works. You literally just pour this directly into your oil. I'm using a funnel, even though I could probably get this in without spilling anything, but since it is UV dye, I don't want to get splashes anywhere showing, like, making me freak out for like a false leak. So I will be using a quick funnel and a paper towel just to wipe up any mess. There is a aluminum foil stopper in here, so when you remove that, just make sure no metal pieces fall into the liquid. Obviously you don't want to be pouring that into your engine. And again, you use 1 ounce of this, which is this entire bottle, for 5 quarts of motor oil. So I'm just going to pour the whole thing in. 5.5 quarts for the Tacoma with the filter. The actual dye, when you pour it, sort of like a deep orange color, which you know I love, obviously. And under the black light, it's supposed to show up as a bright orange or yellow. Alright, got the engine oil cap back on. Obviously don't want that splashing around now. I don't want the actual dye to settle any, so I'm going to run some errands immediately. And obviously I'm going to put some miles on the truck over the next few days, maybe a week or so. Because again, my leak underneath was not even dripping on the ground, so I'm not sure how long it's going to take to really see if any of the dye comes out with, you know, the new oil with the dye in it. I will be back in a few days to update you guys.
1 eternity later.
Alright guys, it is nighttime. It is a little scary outside, and it's been about 3 weeks since I put that dye in the oil, so I do have the UV flashlight. I am wearing the yellow protective glasses, which makes me feel like Bono from U2. So I'm gonna hop under the truck and cast the light around, and fingers crossed I don't see any yellow leak. Now in hindsight, I should have put some of the dye like on a piece of cardboard or something, so I could show you what it looks like when I turn the UV light on, which if it's shown up on camera, it sort of puts out like a purplish light. I did go ahead and pop the hood so I can show you real quick. I was just playing around with this, and you can see that right there glowing. It looks like it's showing up on the camera for me. That freaked me out. That's just a plastic connector, but I imagine that is what the color of the dye is supposed to look like under the UV light, making it easy to spot any oil stains. So I already checked around all under my hood, no leaks, and this is a great system if you haven't tried it before. It makes it super easy to spot, obviously at night versus daytime. Already looked around under the hood, nothing from the sides, the top. You can see the dipstick right there glowing, really bright fluorescent, which I think that's like yellow or gold during the daytime anyway. So now we're gonna hop under the truck and see what we get. And here is the back of my oil pan. Now remember, I did wipe it off, get it as clean as possible. I don't see any glow at all, which makes me extremely happy. So like I said, it's been about 3 weeks and maybe 500 miles of driving since I put the dye in. So even though I did mention that the leak I did have was very small, very subtle, I would imagine at this point I'd at least be able to see something, and I don't see anything of the sort. Super pumped so far with the results, or lack of results, I guess you could say, from adding the dye into the oil. Don't see any leaks at this point. But now I must leave you, my loves, for I'm doing concert in Dublin within the hour.
The next day.
So we're off to a good start. No further leaks on my oil issue. I'm not sure if it's just because changing to that conventional like I did in the video linked above actually worked, like I've heard it can, or if it just hasn't been long enough for that leak to develop since it was so slow. I will of course keep you guys updated. But regardless of my leak issue, this is a good product you guys should check out if you are having similar leak issues. No matter what the fluid, I believe it's safe, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, in all kinds of applications. So if you know you have a leak, you want to try to hunt it down, see exactly where it's coming from. You can throw the dye in whatever applicable fluid once you check to make sure it's safe. Give it a few days, depending on the severity of your leak, of course, and whip out that UV light and those dope shades and hunt it down. If you are interested in trying out this dye kit, link in the description. Comment below, let me know what you think of it and if you used it and what kind of results you got. As always, thanks so much for supporting the channel by watching this video. Enjoy your upcoming weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.